about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for basements. Yeah, I lost my way, but I hear tell about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for basements.
Hi, everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. Hello. How you doing there? Hey, buddy. Welcome back. How's it going? Thank you very much for shooting in, joining a fella here for another one. Another live stream, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live, episode 72. 72 here today. On this lovely... I almost said Friday, but nope, it's Sunday. The Sunday edition of the show. There we go. Now I know what I'm talking about. Sunday, June the 30th, 2024. Just a skosh past 4 p.m. local time here in the afternoon, 4 in the afternoon. Thank you very much for joining me here. Thanks for your indulgence, your patience with me bebopping and shucking and jiving all over the place with the time schedule, with the live show here. But here we are. It's Sunday. That's right. Sunday, June 30th. The last day of June. Tomorrow's Canada Day. That's right. My beloved nation's birthday is tomorrow, July the 1st. So to all my fellow crazy Canucks out there, happy early Canada Day to you. Dominion Day, Canada Day. But that's tomorrow. Got a video coming up for that tomorrow. For today's show, we're not talking about anything to do with Canada, which is a rarity around here. We're talking about old Georgetown, Colorado. And we'll get into a little bit of that later on. But first, before I get ahead of myself here, once again, thank you for joining me. Say hello in the chat, in the box. Let me know where you're shooting in from. Myself, well, as you know, I'm coming to you live, as always, from Calgary. Here in southwestern Alberta and Canadian land up in the north there, eh? Beautiful day here today. It's one of those spring shower, early summer day showers. Light rain, but it's warm. 20 degrees Celsius right now. It's like 70 Fahrenheit. It's perfect. Lovely day. The birds are loving it. They're just chirping away out there. Everything's nice and lush and green. I don't want to hear any freaking excuses about wildfires or forest fires around here because we've had some lovely showers on and off here the last couple of days or overnight. So it's nice and fresh. Can you smell it? It's nice and fresh. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Appreciate all of you taking time out of your day to join yours truly here for the Sunday edition of the show. So it's a Sunday fun day. So if you haven't already, please consider giving a guy one of these. And thank you to everybody who has already shared and subscribed. Appreciate it. For those of you that are tuning in and watching this after the live, after the fact, thank you very much for your support as well. Especially, these things run a couple of hours, eh? So it's a big chunk of somebody's time. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. There is lost and found history rewritten. In the box is saying I frequently go to Georgetown, Colorado. Well, there you go, because I was just about to, as I kick off the topic of the show here, I was going to say, if you've been there or if you're a local, please sound off in the box. This place to me is it's like a Disneyland for adults, at least for adults that are of like mind as myself. All these beautiful old world buildings. They've got their own little narrow gauge railroad that does this sort of a loop. There's another little town just a little bit out of Georgetown that this little railroad connects. That's fantastic, man. It's in the Rocky Mountains. It's unbelievable. To me, it would be if I've never been there. And in a second here, we'll get into how I even heard of this place. I've never been there in my life, but I would love to go there. To me, that would be way better than going to a theme park or an amusement park. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been to Disneyland. A lot of fun. Was there in the 80s before Disney was the Disney it is now. But again, that's a whole other show. Universal Studios, a couple of Six Flags is this, and a couple of amusements up here in Canada Land. Of course, the Calgary Stampede every year. Not only is it a huge rodeo, but they have the Midway with a bunch of rides. So, But to me, this would be way more fun going to this town. I don't know. It looks like a great town to live in. I don't know how the locals feel about a bunch of strangers coming in and traipsing all over their lovely little mountain town. I guess if it's a tourist town, you get kind of used to it. I don't know. But anyway, be that as it may. Speaking of Calgary Stampede, back to the regular schedule on Friday for New West Reset Live episode 73, and that's going to be the first of two. You're getting a duo. You're getting DOS shows that are the theme of around the Calgary Stampede. So this coming Friday, July the 5th, back on the regular schedule for the live show, and then the 12th, and they're both going to be Stampede themed. Get into a little bit of his story around the Stampede and whatnot, and we'll look at some old photos and all that what's nots and jazz. So yeah, stay tuned for the channel for that. In the meantime, again, thanks for joining me here on this Sunday edition of the show. I had to work late Friday, and it's either go on at I don't know, 6 in the morning local time here before work, or maybe 7 in the morning or 8 maybe, I don't know. Or go on at 11 p.m. local time. And neither seemed appealing to a fella, to be honest with you. So thanks for joining me for the Sunday edition of the show. Marit's here from Hidden to Plain Sight. Howdy, howdy. The Mad Fiddler is mentioned in the box as well. Turtle's here. Good to see you, Turtle. Hippie Shake is here as well. How's she going there, eh? Rothrods LLC in the box. 45 minutes from there. Lost and Found History Rewritten. That's fantastic. Kathy Childers is here. Kentucky in the box. Kentucky in the house. Not really late. We haven't really gotten to go. You know how it is with me. I got to jibber jabber for a bit till the ball's rolling. Got to warm up with the preamble, or I don't know. Jabberoo Joe's here. Hello, hello. Good day. Good to see you. Thanks for shooting in there, Ray Bud. Silver Plume, yeah, that's the other little town. Gonna have a look at that as well. We're gonna look at some photos. Gonna look at some. Gonna do a goggle drop. Vaughn's here as well. Good to see you. Thanks for shooting in. Good day. PCS World, howdy, howdy. Jesse Nick's in the box as well. Good to see all of you. Thank you very much for shooting in. A little bit of the Sunday version of the show here. So thanks for joining a fella here for shooting in. My pal Bill is here. Pretty sure been through those parts, eh? Yeah. I'd love to go. I would love to go. Fantastic. Neuromass is here as well. Good to see you. George Armstrong in the box. Howdy, howdy. George is a fan of the tunage during the vintage footage sneak a peek portion of the show. So yeah, this whole Georgetown / Silver Plume thing comes by way of a friend of mine. He since has retired, but when he was working, traveled a lot for business. Mostly the sort of in the Midwest, Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, Kansas, Great Lakes states-ish area, and getting into the Midwest, right? And he'd often take video, right? Because he would, pop into some, he'd stay in the hotel, right? And he's there. He's on business, right? So he doesn't know nobody. So he'll grab a bite to eat, and if the weather's nice, he'd go for a walk, do the touristy thing, and take some video of beautiful parts of their city or town. Usually, kind of in the downtown core, the town or city plaza. And often it's these beautiful old world buildings. And I've shared some of his video footage here on my channel here before. One where he was in Savannah, Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. And another place too, somewhere in Michigan, I think. Anyway, originally he was living in Michigan. Then he retired, and I thought, we're not going to see a lot of cool tourism footage from him anymore, which was kind of a bummer, right? So I was like, But he has some kids that live out in the West, Colorado to be precise, and he and his wife, after they retired, decided to sell their place in Michigan and move out Colorado way. So they moved to Denver and the suburbs of Denver, Anyway, so now he's been showing me some video or sending me some videos, little clips here and there of him basically exploring their new home state, the city of Denver itself and some of the other little cities and towns in and around there, and the state of Denver. Because I've only been to Colorado once. It was on kind of a return portion of a road trip, and I wasn't at the wheel, so I wasn't calling the shots. So we basically just kind of drove past it, right? Or drove through Colorado, I should say, drove past Denver, Colorado, right? Denver, the Sunshine State. Gorgeous. Anyway, that's from that jackassy movie, Old School. But anyway. So one of the places that he went to explore in his new home state was this Georgetown, Colorado. And just in the few seconds, like a half a minute or so of video that he sent me, I was like, can you believe this? Can you believe this shit? Can you believe this shit? Is what I thought. I gotta pull punches. I swore to myself in my head. I said to myself, Frankie, can you believe this shit? But shit in a good way. It wasn't shitty at all. It was fantabulous. It was mind-blowing. I was like, what is with this picturesque little mountain town up there in the Colorado Rockies? I mean, we have little towns, little mountain towns like this here in Canadian land too, and there's other parts of the U.S. that have them. There's other parts of the realm all over in Europe, right? In the Alps, so on and so forth, right? But of course, I thought to myself, well, how did this little thing spring up, and how has it been maintained like this? Like, what's going on with this little place, right? So, of course, I goggled it on the Kajugal machine and, got some of the official story on it, the official narrative of what we're told about it, the Wikipedia and whatnot, and we'll have a look at that. But I thought, oh, of course, it's a mining town, right? Then after the bust, it managed to somehow survive. It nearly closed up shop, pulled up stakes, and moved or shut her down and became ghost town there a couple times, of course. But now it has a thriving tourism industry there. And so, yeah, when I saw this video, I was flabbergasted and looked into it. I thought, this place, I got to share this. So some of you might be, yeah, Frankie, we've heard of this place. Been there, done that, rode the train, and got the t-shirt. But I was like, this has got everything that a guy like me loves. The old world buildings, the picturesque scenery, a funny or funky little narrative, and some old train stuff. Yay, tourism, right? Yeah, it's like Banff here in the mountain parks in Alberta. It's turned very touristy, very, very touristy. When we moved from Quebec out to Alberta in 1980, that first summer, because we moved here in I think it was August of 1980. Anyway, the first summer we did some looking around here, some road trips as a family. What's going on around here? What do they got over here? What's that? Banff. Everybody's raving and ranting and screaming and hollering about Banff, Alberta, spelled with two F's, Banff, Banff. And admittedly, it was worth, it was the hype. It lived up to the hype. Fantastic. But in 1980, it was still a quaint little mountain town, picturesque, picture postcard, lovely. Out of the way, hidden sort of, hidden gem touristy spots that were fairly well-kept secrets that you had to know somebody that knew somebody that could tell you about it. Now it's just, it's like, just open up the floodgates and all the knuckleheads are running around in there. When a Starbucks opens up, you're in trouble. You know what I'm saying? And a McDonald's. So as Walmart pulls in town, boy, howdy, look out. Nothing wrong with going and being a tourist. I encourage that. In a way, that's what I do here on my channel with the boots on the ground videos. When a fella's walking around all over the place, waving his camera around, looking at stuff. And basically getting to know where I live. I'm looking around. I'm being a tourist in my own town. And it's fascinating. It has its good sides and its bad sides. I mean, Calgary's a touristy town for this upcoming stampede that I've been talking about. Greatest outdoor show on earth, one of the biggest rodeos in the whole wide world. You hear me? So it's a big deal. 10 days, well, 11 if you include the sneak peek on Thursday. But official opening is Friday. The Stampede Parade. Rodeo starts Friday. Runs until the following Sunday. So there's a lot of tourists. Roughly 1 million people go through the gates. They say approximately 100,000 people come into the city every year to go to this thing. And they push the big Wild West cowboy rootin' tootin' Wild West pioneer wild Indians narrative, just like in the United States, right? No different than Oklahoma or, I don't know, Wyoming or Colorado for that matter. And in some ways it's great. I love the Stampede, but in some ways it's a pain in the ass because traffic and people just litter and it's noisy and smelly, loud and obnoxious, and by the time that 10 and 11 days or so are done and people skedaddle on out of town and maybe go to some of the other touristy spots, toward the end there, it's like, all right, thanks a lot for coming. Y'all come back now, you hear? See you. But, I mean, hey, I've been guilty of traipsing around Banff, looking around. Drumheller, going to the museum to look at all the dead dinosaurs. Hell, again, here even in the city, there's tourist attractions. There's a theme park of Heritage Park and all that. Hell, Cousin Vinny and I went there last summer and we're going back. So, So I do encourage exploring the realm with your own two eyes, on your own 2 feet as much as you can. If there ain't much to look at in the town you live in, or if you live, I don't know, out in the country somewhere. I get it. It's tough. But hell, even taking the little guy, the little blue man, and doing a goggle drops on the goggle map machine there. In some ways, even though it's kind of virtually or digitally, you're kind of being a tourist and you can go wherever you want to go, right? So, oh, the hippie, thank you for asking. It went quite well, actually. Yeah, there was a couple of us there, and we met up at 1 o'clock, and I think it was 6 hours we were down there. Mind you, we didn't really start hoofing it around and walking all over the place until about 1:30, maybe 1:45. But we did a lot of walking.
I'm going downtown, and I'm gonna buy me some new shoes.
So yeah, I think we pulled out of there at about 7 p.m. So it was about 6 hours. But we stopped for bites to eat, and we stopped. I mean, it was a scorching hot day. Even though there was a bit of a breeze, you didn't feel like you were getting too hot, but the sun was it was big blue skies, hardly any clouds, right? So you knew the sun was just beating down on you. So every once in a while, we'd, kind of rehydrate, sit in the shade under a tree somewhere, or go to a park and sit down for a bit. But yeah, we went for burgers to a burger joint that's been there since 1942 or something like that. Or 1949 or something. 1949, actually. I should correct myself. I think it was since 1949. But yeah, we saw tons of beautiful buildings, a couple of churches. It's fantastic. The video for that will be coming up. I think on the 14th of July, because I was messaging back and forth with Cousin Vinny, because of course he was there too. And I was saying that I had over an hour and a half of footage, but that turns out to be incorrect. I had 2.5 hours of footage, and I wanted to edit that down quite a bit. I wanted to get it down to under 2 hours, and I think I managed to get it down to an hour and a half. But then I've got some stuff that I've got on the back burner that it's additional footage that I think I'm going to upload as separate little videos, as maybe, I don't know, walkabout outtakes or something like that, or deleted scenes or something, because there's a bunch of stuff that we saw that was really hokey there. But just time wise, there's only so much that you can do, right? So, but yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I grabbed some delicious burgers at that old place, and just a lot of sights to see, a lot of interesting people to see. Because, of course, with it being such a beautiful day, and with it being a Sunday, the meetup was on a Sunday, and we met at 1 in the afternoon. And it being kind of a very pedestrian-friendly, foot traffic, shopping / touristy area of Calgary anyways, and with the Stampede starting, a week away now, basically, right, from this point. There's already a lot of tourists in town because of the hotels and motels and bed and breakfasts and hostels and you name it, man. Even campgrounds within like an hour's drive of the city, booked solid for like months ahead of the Stampede. That's how big of a deal this crazy rodeo thing is here. I ain't kidding you now. I ain't playing with you. So there's a lot of people out, and a lot of interesting people, a lot of friendly people. So yeah, a lot of good food, and yeah, it was a great time. Gave out a bunch of t-shirts. I had some t-shirts made for the channel, so gave away a bunch of t-shirts and stuff, and yeah, it was great. A lot of walking though. Even by the time I got home, I was feeling it, and I walk everywhere, and I walk a lot, and I do a lot of boots on the ground videos, right? I mean, you're getting at least one boots on the ground video a week here on the channel, and have been for about 3 years now. So that's a lot of walking. Well, some of it's in my immediate neighborhood, but a lot of it's on the other side of downtown. It's a 45-minute walk, hour walk maybe. On a nice day, I ain't sitting on a bus. I don't drive, so I ain't sitting on a stuffy bus with a bunch of weirdos on a nice day. I'd rather walk for an hour on a beautiful day. Especially when I'm walking in the older historic neighborhoods in the city anyways, right? It's part of the exploration. It's part of being a tourist in your own town. Anyway, let's get the ball rolling here. If you haven't already, thank you very much. Give a fellow one of these here. Thanks again for joining me here. Frankie, New West Reset Live, episode 72. Here today, we're looking at old Georgetown, Colorado in the United States. Great neighbors to the south of myself up here in Canadian land. This comes courtesy of a buddy that's recently moved from the great state of Michigan over to Colorado, and he's been exploring his home state. And so I'm going to share a little bit of footage for that with you here on this Sunday edition of the show. So thanks for joining me. Got a couple of magpies fighting over, I don't know, something there outside my window. French fry or a dead gopher carcass or something. I don't know. That's what that squawking is that you're hearing in the background. Anyway, links for everything below, the Wikipedia and a couple of other websites that we're going to look at here real quick. Then we'll look at some photos and do a goggle drop as well, because this place is mesmerizing. Mesmerizing. So thank you for joining me. Let's see here. Probably the first thing we're going to look at here is, well, we might as well just look at the Wikipedia right off the bat, I guess, just for the heck of it. Again, thanks for joining me here on this Sunday edition of the show. Let me get myself set up properly. There we go. Hopefully you can hear me okay, by the way. With those squawking birds. Bird. It's bird. It's crazy bird. Anyway, Georgetown, Colorado. I know it's pronounced Colorado. I'm just joshing around with you now. Take it easy. It's a territorial charter municipality. It's the county seat of Clear Creek County, Colorado, United States. Town population was just over 1,100 people in 2020. So just a little tiny little place. The former silver mining camp along Clear Creek in the Front Range of the Rocky Mountains was established in 1859 during the Pikes Peak Gold Rush. So it's a silver mine found during a gold rush. They're looking for gold and found silver. Where have we heard this 114 million times? I've heard that about here in southern Alberta. Looking for silver or gold and they find coal, or looking for, gold and they find silver. So they knew enough to know to look in the right place, but they didn't know enough to know exactly what they were looking for. I guess. I don't know. Pikes Peak is obviously very famous. Almost as famous, I would say, as the 49ers there in the San Francisco Gold Rush, or maybe the Canadian Klondike, the Klondike Gold Rush, also around that same time, 1850s. Anyway, the federally designated Georgetown Silver Plume Historic District comprises Georgetown, neighboring town of Silver Plume, and the Georgetown Loop Historic Mining and Railroad Park. Now you can see how that would have grabbed a guy's attention, a guy like yours truly, when I first opened up the Wikipedia page and first looked into this. They have a historic mining and railroad park with a loop. They have a railroad loop. And then I saw that picture pop up and I'm like, wow. And then it says it's a narrow gauge even. So it's not the standard width between the rails on the railway, right? It's only a 3-foot gauge between the two. Not that they're the little mini trains. They're not. They are just a little bit smaller. Generally, they're used more for coal mining, silver mining, gold mining, logging, that sort of thing. So anyways, I was intrigued just by that. So it sits on an elevation of 8,500 feet, 2,600 meters above sea level, nestled in the mountains near the upper end of the valley of Clear Creek in the mountains west of Denver along Interstate 70. Although its population was only about 1,000, 2010 census, the town was a historic center of mining industry in Colorado during the late 19th century, earning the nickname the Silver Queen of Colorado. I've heard that thrown around a couple of times too, the Silver Queen of this or that, Silver Queen City, and so on and so forth. Maggot's in the box. Good day, Maggot. Good to see you. Howdy, howdy. Welcome. Evolved into a lively historical summer tourist center today, with many preserved structures from the heyday of the Colorado silver boom. Town stretches roughly north-south along Clear Creek, hemmed in by the mountains, with its historic downtown located at the southern or upper end, and modern development located at the northern or lower end of the town. Georgetown is now part of the Denver, Aurora, Lakewood, Colorado Metropolitan Statistical Area and the Front Range Urban Corridor. Those are mouthfuls, if I do say so my own self. But yeah. So it was first settled in 1859 during the Pikes Peak Gold Rush, as they already mentioned. Geez, they even got it down to a couple of fellers here. The George and David Griffith. They're members of a mining party who decided to separate from the others in the Central City and Idaho Springs areas. They found gold. There's gold in their hills in Clear Creek, near present-day site of the Alpine Inn, and decided to settle in the area for the rest of the summer and fall. The Griffith Mining District incorporated in June 1860. There you go. So they incorporated themselves the following year. Soon after the formation of the mining district, several early residents joined to form the Georgetown Company, claiming 640 acres for a town site. Town site would be overseen by the Griffith Mining District. So they went from two brothers to just laying out a town in a year. They didn't waste any time. They didn't even worry about, apparently, if the silver or gold vein was going to run out at any point. No, just set her up. So the commercial district was tagged Main Street, of course, a name which would continue in the 20th century. Center of the nascent town was roughly the area of the I-70 interchange, close to present-day Rutherford Stables. Silver, the main product from the district, was not discovered until 1864. Now, so 4 years after finding gold, they found silver, and they thought, wow, double jackpot. Two. We got two in a row. Can we go for the trifecta and find like tin or copper or coal or I don't know. John Henry Bowman came to Silver Plume, Colorado in 1883, then moved to Georgetown, Colorado in 85. A machinist. He worked as a foreman of the Miners Sampling Works. Later, he was superintendent of the American Sisters Mine, company which he owned stock. American Sister Mine was a consolidation of two Sisters Mine and Native American Mine. All right, so there's already a schwack of mines opening up all over the place here by the 1890s. Just all of a sudden, people just wandered into this valley, found silver, found gold. There's also a spring there. The next thing you know, this town pops up. So it's a warm summer, humid continental climate. So it's pretty much like where I am. Warm in the summer. They're humid, but I guess because of their elevation in the mountains or something. Because here we're kind of dry. But Calgary's not right in the mountains, right? It's kind of where the prairies start into the foothills of the Rockies. But anyways, links in the description below if you want to have a look at a little bit more of that bunch of shenanigans. I mean, it's not shenanigans. It's so much. I mean, sure, I could see it. Prospectors are mining over yonder, so they go to the next valley over or further on down the creek or river or whatever, or to the next hill or mountain, and they start tink, 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 and they, hit silver or gold, or they hear tell of old mining that was shut down there from way back. Indigenous peoples were mining silver or gold or whatever, so they go back to these places. Sure. But it's funny how that doesn't happen today. Like they still find, gold and silver and diamonds and whatever. But towns don't pop up, really. It's just work camps and a giant sort of factory/facility springs up there, and that's it. Maybe they run a paved highway up and down there to transport whatever they're mining. Maybe the railroad. And that's it. But it's just, it's that same old story that these towns just pop up right on the side of the mountain too, as you'll see here in a bit. Anyway, what other? This is from the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation website. Thought I'd share that with you here real quick. There's some a little bit more of the the official story, the official narrative, but it's focused on a couple of buildings and so on. Like this place, for example, the Hotel de Paris. So Paris Hotel in Georgetown, Colorado, for some reason. They decided to, I don't know why. It served first-class French cuisine. And it was a luxury hotel during the Gilded Age. Because that's what filthy miners are looking for, I guess. I don't know. You come out of working in a filthy mine all day and you want to go for some fine French dining, I guess. Anyway, Georgetown, population of 1,100. It's first settled by prospectors, lured to the area by the discovery of gold and silver. The town was incorporated in 1868 and became known as the Silver Queen of the Rockies. In 1884, Georgetown Loop was constructed, a narrow-gauge rail line linking Georgetown with the nearby community of Silver Plume. During the 1880s and through the early 1900s, the area's spectacular scenery made Georgetown and Georgetown Loop Center for tourist railroad excursions. Okay. Now, being a fan of old-timey railroads and old-timey trains and stuff myself, I could see how that would be a thing. But in the early 1900s, are people taking trips out here to ride this train in the early 1900s? And even 1880s? Like, because by the story, those trains are new at that point. Still, like 20 years old, maybe. They've been in use since about the 1860s, the steam locomotives and so on. So by the 1880s, you already have people coming here just to look at the trains in this town? Or is it more so because the train travels through the mountains and it's picturesque? Guess that I could understand. How are they getting to Georgetown to check out the trains as a tourist, I wonder? By train, I guess. You take a train to go and see the train. I mean, again, I'm a huge fan of trains. So taking an old chugga choo-choo train ride through the Rocky Mountains would be right up my alley. Why we don't have that anywhere here in Alberta, I'll never know. Banff's right there. Canmore is right there. British Columbia has some, but Alberta, nope. We're too stupid, I guess. But anyways, the town's fortunes began to wane, however, with the advent of the automobile. Georgetown Loop was dismantled in 1838. This was followed by the closing of the mines in the 1940s. Did I say 1838? I meant 1938, excuse me. The entire railroad was dismantled in 1938. This was followed by the closing of the mines in the 1940s. In subsequent decades, however, new emphasis on the community's heritage assets had helped reinvigorate tourism. Georgetown Silver Plume Historic District was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1966. So 30 years after they shut it down, not even. 32 years? No. 28 years. Math. And Georgetown passed the state's first historic preservation design review ordinance in 1970. 2003, the new Gateway Visitor Center opened, yada, yada, yada. Heritage tourists can visit the restored Hotel de Paris. 1875 is when that was built, they say. This hotel. Long famed as one of the West's most elegant inns, and the Hamel House in 1879, home of Silver Baron William A. Hamel. Also, Georgetown Loop has been reconstructed and reopened by the Colorado Historical Society as part of a larger railroad and mining park that interprets these important themes in the state's history. We'll do the interpreting for you by rebuilding it. They tear it down in the first place for crying out loud. They could have just kept it going as a commuter train between the two towns, for pity's sake. What, everybody in town had a car? Even in a town of 1,100 people today, I doubt everyone in town has a car. Shoot, you could walk from Georgetown to Silver Plume probably in what? Half hour? 45 minutes? Old World, Michigan in the box. How's she going there, eh, bud? Good to see you. Ake artist in the box as well said used to live there and always fantasized about robbing that train. Yeah, the old train robbery movies and stuff. Yeah, well, that whole area, right? Sort of west of Denver, like Aurora and Georgetown and Silver Plume and Pikes Peak, a little further south, I believe. Outstanding. So you can visit all the stuff there. It's up and running. And I mean, hey, if you live nearby, I would encourage it because it's beautiful there. It's outstanding. Let's see what else I got here. This is a little bit more. I think this link gets a little bit more specifically into the mining. Let's see if there's any shenanigans or discrepancies to behold here. This is from Britannica.com. Georgetown, Colorado. 1867. Clear Creek County. Yeah, okay. So far, north central Colorado, USA. It lies along the South Fork of Clear Creek. Front Range, Rocky Mountains. Elevation of yada yada feet. 2,600 meters. Yeah, okay. 40 miles west of Denver. Historic mining town. Originated 1964 when Belmont Silver Lode was discovered nearby. By the time Colorado Central Railroad in 1877, producing vast amounts of silver. It was named for George Griffith, a local official. By the 1890s, silver mining had declined, and so had the town. See, that's why I quit. Like, why did you build up this town so quickly then? This happens all the time back in the day. It's like they just didn't learn. We found silver or gold or diamonds or coal or I don't know, whatever up and around here, or oil or natural gas or whatever, a spring, something that we can pump out of here or dig out of here and exploit or whatever, make a mess of. So this town just pops up. And then what happens when the quote unquote well runs dry? Then they just pack up shop and move and just leave these ghost towns. It's so strange to me. Up and running within a year, and then they shut it down like, 1864 to 1890. 26 years. Not just a quarter of a century. So much so that it was known as the Silver Queen of the Rockies, and they had their own railroad and the whole kit and caboodle. Unlike many other Colorado mining towns, Georgetown did not experience a major fire. Oh. And many original Victorian buildings have survived and have been restored. So there it is, right there. Hey, how come you have all these old buildings still in this little town that almost fell into the decline not even 3 decades after it was founded by a couple of brothers that just wandered off looking for stuff? Well, we didn't have a fire, you see, so that's how it's all still here. Okay. Notably, the Hamel House, there it is again, the Hotel de Paris, both the National Register of Historic Places. The latter, okay, here it is about this hotel. Okay, the latter was built and operated by an eccentric Frenchman, Louis Dupuy. Louis Dupuy. Louis Puy. Louis Dupuy. Okay, I speak French and I read and write French. I'm not fully bilingual, but I'm pretty good. Je parle français un peu, moi. Okay? So I know how to pronounce the name. It's Louis du Puy. So you mean to tell me that this guy's name's Louis Puy, man? Or Louis from Puy. Du means of. Or from. Anyways, his outlook and Epicurean? Epicurean? I don't know what that means. Tastes were highly unusual for the region. I would say this guy's hooked on French stuff, and he's way over in the Rockies in Colorado, in this mining town. It was one of the most elegant hostelries west of the Mississippi River during its heyday, and it's now a museum owned by the colonial dames of America. Georgetown remains a tourist-based drive surrounding ghost towns. Oh, so there's surrounding ghost towns, and this is a jumping off point. So not only were they able to maintain their buildings because they didn't have a fire, thanks to Louis Puy, and his good thinking with this hotel too, people could come in here as tourists and visit the towns that didn't make it, I guess. A restored narrow gauge railway runs between Georgetown, Silver Plume, Georgetown Loop, historic mining, yada, yada. Okay, there you go. Lou of the Pooh, says Jabaroo. Yeah, not Dupont. Sous le pont d'Avignon. A pont is a bridge. Dupont. But Pooey. I just can't. I just cannot. Oh, for the love of Pete. For the love of Pete. Louis du Puy. Come on, man. I mean, is this yeah, he was a real stinker, says Ake Artist. Yep. Wow. Anyway, so I've got another. Let's have a quick look at the railroad itself here, see what they say, because it's, it's supposedly it was torn down in 1938 and then rebuilt. So it was completed. Oh, sorry, this is from the Georgetown Loop Railroad.com. So it's their own website. So they ought to know. They're not going to be trying to trick us or anything. Hey, look, an old map. 1880s-ish, I guess. Rail map. It says 1885 right on it. Anyway, history of Georgetown completed in 1884. This spectacular stretch of 3-foot narrow gauge railroad was considered engineering marvel of its time. The Georgetown Loop Railroad was one of Colorado's first visitor attractions, with 7 trains a day running out of Denver. At the height of its popularity, the Georgetown Loop became Colorado's scenic must-see. So they ran 7 trains a day out of Denver to come out here, just so people could ride this loop and look at the beautiful scenery. And we will do the same. Well, I'm not going to hop on a train because I couldn't find anything like that. Not without getting dinged by the hoot tubes and so on. But anyway, we'll have a look at the train. Guidebooks, pamphlets, and postcards help send the images of the steep canyons and mountain peaks finally accessible by train across the nation. So the early years. December 1872, the first railroad line up Clear Creek Canyon reaches Blackhawk. The construction, funded by bonds from Clear Creek and Gilpin counties, was organized by William A.H. Loveland, a 59er and proponent of the Colorado Central Railroad. Let's get a railroad up here, boys. Who the hell are you? I'm a 59er. Been up here since 59. So, what are you doing up here? Just poking around. Digging for stuff. Anyway, 1877, the railroad reaches Idaho Springs in June, thanks to financier Jay Gould, who controlled the Union Pacific and supplied necessary funds to complete both the route to Idaho Springs and the later route to Georgetown, completed in 1877. The railroad makes access open for freight, ore, consumers, and passengers to Georgetown. The Rocky Mountains are open for tourists. There we go. The Rockies are open. And then 2 years later, in 1879, Georgetown becomes the Silver Queen of Colorado. For only a short time that year, when news of a large silver strikes spreads across the region from Leadville. One of the greatest strikes to date. Gould strives to have the Colorado Central be the first rail line to reach Leadville. Track to reach Leadville from Georgetown is an obstacle due to narrowing of the valley west of the city, an area where the average grade is over 6%, too steep for most trains. Some fat cat named Blickensderfer devises a system of curves and bridges, reducing the average grade to 3%. Plan includes 3 hairpin turns, 4 bridges, a 30-degree horseshoe curve from Georgetown to Silver Plume. So there's just your curve, your loop. 1884, 5 years on now. First trains arrive in the Silver Plume. Another line, the Denver and Rio Grande, is completed into Leadville from the south. Gould's interest in pushing the Georgetown line over the mountains wanes. Georgetown, Breckenridge, and Leadville Railroad line ends permanently a few miles past Silver Plume. So in the 1880s and early 1900s, the community and the Georgetown Loop become a tourist center for those who venture west to encounter the wild ruggedness and romance. So they're coming to see the fringes of the new Wild West in this new Wild West mining boom town with their fancy loop railroad, I guess. Tourism in the West develops around railroad excursions. They were taking a train ride out to take a train ride. It's not like today we hop in the car and you go to the train museum and you might take a train ride, right? Nope, back then you hopped on a train to go and ride a train. Or maybe your horse and buggy, if you lived close by. I don't know if they had parking. Sure they did. Anyways, there's that 7 trains a day running out of Denver. The loop is now they're just quoting Wikipedia, or Wikipedia is quoting them. It's Colorado Scenic Must See. And it's a deal at only $3 a round trip. Wow. The advent of the automobile brings mountain tourists to Colorado, but dramatically reduces excursion train trip revenues in the railroad. The Georgetown Loop runs 2 trains a day from May through September only. So people are driving out there, but then once they get there, they're not hopping on the train and taking the train portion. They drive, and once they get there, they just stay in the Hotel de Paris, I guess, and then they leave. So suddenly, now that cars are invented, they don't want to take the train into the mountains to see the beautiful. I guess it's no longer a scenic must-see now that we got the automobile. I always blame everything on cars, right? There have been cars way before the early 1900s. They had electric jalopies and stuff back in the 1880s, 1870s. And who knows, probably before that. Dragon Sage is in the box. How's she going there, eh? So in 1939, the last trains run from Denver to Silver Plume. The line from Idaho Springs to Silver Plume is abandoned, and Georgetown Loop dismantled, ending the colorful railroad history era. Demands for the manpower of the battlefields and supply production during the war closes down the mines. 41, they're closed. Then 100 years after the first discovery of gold in Georgetown and the surrounding area, the chair of Colorado Historical Society's board of directors begins a program of land acquisition, at least with the plans to eventually reconstruct the entire length of the loop. So 21 years after they shut it down and dismantled it, then they're going to rebuild it. Bunch of jackasses, man. Like, what in the hell is going on? Then 10 years after that, work begins on the Lebanon Mine Tunnel, and more excavations. Construction of the rail line begins 4 years after that. They're working on multiple projects here. It looks like in finished restoring the depot in Silver Plume. Engine house was completed in 1986. Basically, then it's open. Wow. Yeah, it's same old story with that kind of stuff too, eh? It always seems to be. It seems that way, right? It's like, come on, man. I mean, it was the same thing here in Calgary. The electric streetcar, trolley, tram, whatever you want to call it, right? Ran until, was it 1950? Or was it 59? No, I want to say 1950. And then they shut it down. Now we're going to go with buses. And not even electric tram buses. No, we're just going to go with diesel buses that later they had to convert to natural gas because it's cleaner burning. But then in 84, 86, they start putting in an electric train again. It's like, you idiots. You ripped up all the old track. I mean, sure, you couldn't have maybe used the old, cars anymore, the actual passenger cars for the old street cars, but could have used some of the track, maybe. I don't know if it was kept up. But it seems like they always do that. They just, we don't want nothing to do with this here system anymore. I'm going to get rid of it. And then a little while later, they bring it back. Or a so-called newfangled version of it, where it's basically the same thing, It's just now it's on their terms now instead of on our terms, I guess. That's the differentiation. I don't know. So this is Silver Plume. So this is just a little bit. Well, we'll see. It's right here. It says it right here. Silver Plume is the statutory town located on Clear Creek County, Colorado, United States. It's a former silver mining camp along Clear Creek, the Front Range of the Rocky Mountains. The federally designated Georgetown Silver Plume Historic District comprises Silver Plume, neighboring town of Georgetown, and the Georgetown Loop Historic, yada, yada, yada. There you go. And the 207 people live in there in 2020. And the post office they have their own post office with their own zip code still, with 207 people. Interstate 70 and Route 6 pass through the town, so it's not like it's too far off the beaten path or anything. Just a tiny place, 0.2 square miles. Half of a square kilometer. Subarctic climate. Ooh, it's chilly. It's chilly. It's even chillier than 20 minutes away in Georgetown. But there it is, Silver Plume, Colorado. There's a train station. So part of that historic loop for the old railroad. Real quick here, I think I had one more link. I think this is has to do with Silver Plume as well. Yeah, Silver Plume, Colorado. This is westernmininghistory.com. Again, links for everything in the description below, down there. Main Street, Silver Plume, Colorado. Look at this. So at one point, okay, obviously there's 202 people now, but at one point, this place, there's thousands of people in the streets here. Like maybe it was like, hey, this feller's fixing to take a picture at 3 p.m, so everybody came out to get their picture taken. But even still, looks pretty hustle and bustle. So settled in 1869. Now here they're saying 195 people. When's this, the date of this article here? Don't really have a date. All right. Well, it's an active town, so it's not officially a ghost town. Silver Plume was founded in 1869 near the rich silver mines west of Georgetown. Only a couple of buildings were built in 1869. Initial development of the town was slow. Doesn't look like it to me. You call this slow? Anyway, by 1872, Silver Plume had become a town of around 500, so more than now, with a thriving commercial district. The town continued to grow as the silver industry boomed in the area, reaching over 2,000 residents before 1893. Okay, so there you go. 10 times the amount that live there now. Here it is in 2006, the same main street. Looks to me like a lot of them old buildings are still there. Looks to me like they're not made out of wood, though. They're made out of stone. Disaster would strike the town in 1884 as fire destroyed most of the business district. Oh, so they did have a fire. Georgetown, if you remember, did not have a fire. But poor old Silver Plume barely hanging on. What was it? They couldn't compete with one another. One wasn't allowed to compete with Georgetown, with the Silver Queen of the Rockies. So they had to burn it. I don't know. What's there to burn down here, by the way? It's all stone. Buildings that don't look like they're stone, that look like they're wood, they don't look burnt down to me. But anyway. With damages said to reach $100,000 and several lives lost. With the local mining industry still enjoying prosperity, most of the town was rebuilt, of course. Disaster would return in 1899, but this time in the form of a giant avalanche. So if it ain't on fire, it's freezing to death in snowy avalanches. Newspapers reported that on February 12th, 2 mighty avalanches combining into one swept down Cherokee Gulch, carrying away a dozen or more mine buildings, cabins, and machinery, and causing great loss of life. How many dead bodies lie in this great mass of stone debris will not be known before spring. Ouch. 8 dead bodies are now at the morgue. So there's Silver Plume in 1884. The 1893 repeal of the Sherman Silver Purchase Act dealt a devastating blow into the silver mines of Colorado. Like other silver towns in the state, Silver Plume's boom times were over. Huh. Anyway, it gets into a lot more of it, but links below. There's a new Windsor Hotel. Look at the size of that thing in 1905. So I guess that's for folks that they stayed at the fancy Hotel de Paris there in Georgetown, and they took the railroad loop, scenic loop, down into Silver Plume, and they departed and disembarked the train and stayed in Silver Plume overnight at this new Windsor Hotel, I guess. So that would have shuttered up after, of course, the excursion stopped being a thing. Once the car came in, because the car destroyed railroads, destroyed towns, destroyed electric streetcars and trams. The old school there, look at that. Because you need a mud-flooded school there in your town. Mining town that's going to, dry up in 20 years, but you're going to build this massive brick and stone structure with these big, huge arched entranceways. And, don't forget you put your mud flood windows down there in this newly built structure. So there's the area we're talking about. So yeah, links in the description below for everything that we've looked at here so far. Where are we at here? Well, just over an hour. All right, perfect. So I think what I'm going to do here is take a mid-show break, give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek vintage footage video, and to get you in the mood for next Friday's, or this coming Friday, I guess, Friday the 5th's live stream on the Calgary Stampede. Got some old rootin' tootin' cowboy footage here for you for the vintage footage. Again, if you're new to the channel, first of all, howdy, welcome. Thank you very much. But secondly, as a reminder, every Sunday, usually every Sunday, boots on the ground. Wednesday, you get vintage footage video, some old-timey video set to music, usually Canadian content. And then usually every Friday, you get the live show. So let me give you a sneak peek at that. And what exactly is this one we're going to be looking at here? Let's see now. It's this is going to be Calgary Stampede Parade from 1955. This one's in color. And I believe this is going down 8th Avenue or Stephen Avenue Southwest, I think. Anyway, some footage from opening day of the Stampede, the Calgary Stampede Parade. This is Cowboy Parade in 1955. It's about 2 minutes long, 2.5 minutes. And when we come back, we're going to have a little bit more up close and personal look here at Georgetown, Colorado, and Silver Plume. So stick around. Be right back. All right, and we are back. Hello. Welcome back. Thank you once again for shooting in and joining me here. Frankie, New West Reset. New West Reset Live, episode 72. We're looking at old Georgetown, Colorado. Thank you very much for joining me here on this Sunday edition of the show. About 5:15 p.m. local time here. Still lovely out, still 20 degrees Celsius. A little bit of some showers. The birds are chirping. They're happy. They're out there enjoying the late spring / early, I guess technically summer now, early summer showers. So yeah, beautiful day. Thanks for joining me here. Thanks for winding down your weekend with yours truly here. So who have we got? Say howdy in the box. Vaughn is here. Got Hippie Shake here as well. Our old friend Phil Henry is here. Howdy. My pal Bill is here as well. William Powell's. Howdy, Bill. I think I saw Jabberoo Joe. My hair has become silver plume. Well, at least you still have some. Why? PCS World is here. Good to see you. Dragon Sage, how's she going there, eh? Nance is here. Nance Hardwick. Howdy, howdy. Lost and Found History Rewritten is in the box. A local of Georgetown, Colorado. So thanks, everybody. Really, really appreciate you joining me here. DN is in the box as well. We haven't heard any sirens so far, I don't think. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Window's wide open because it's lovely out there, even though it's been sprinkling a little. Sig is here as well. Good to see you. Maggot says he's at work. Oh, lurking. He's work lurking. Anyway, let's have a little bit of a more up close and personal look here at Georgetown, Colorado, and a little bit of the train. And then we'll also have a look at Silver Plume as well. I think I'll share with you, first of all, what kicked off this whole thing is the footage that a buddy of mine sent. By the way, if you haven't already, consider giving a guy one of these. Or one of these. It's fine, whatever. Appreciate it. Just helps push me out, into the YouTubes a little bit. And thank you to everybody who has shared and subscribed as we make our way to 2,000 subscribers. Just had a 1,500 subscriber meetup. It was great. Met up with a couple of folks. We had some burgers. We walked around Old Inglewood for about 5 hours. I gave away some New West Reset t-shirts. I should grab one of them to show you. You'll see it. You'll see it. Anyway, thanks for joining me here. Good to see all of you. Links in the description below for everything we've looked at the top of the show, the Wikipedia and various other so on and whatnots. It's from, Georgetown and Silver Plume related. Speaking of links below, a feller's email's down there. That's how I got this video footage that I'm going to share with you in a second. So if you have some show ideas or photos or video you want to share with me, I try to keep it Canadian content, but if it blows me out of the water like this, come on. George Prokopenko knows that. He sends me great stuff all the time, and it's hardly any of it's Canadian content. I end up sharing it just because it's so jaw-dropping. But anyway, links in the box for that below as well. Feller's BitChute's there. My MeWe, as mentioned, my email. And of course, over on the fighting platform there, we're broadcasting simultaneously live right there, right now on the Rumbles. So links for that as well. And also, if you care to make a donation to the channel, the guy's PayPal's down there. So with that out of the way, let's have a look-see here at this video. I slowed it down a little bit so we can have a better look because it's only about it's slowed down, so it's a minute. It was only about a half a minute or 3/4 of a minute. 45 seconds, I guess that would be. Duh. Anyway. And I don't think there's any sound on it either. I think I muted the sound. I think. Anyway, let's have a look. This is Georgetown, Colorado. think it starts off with the choo-choo, and then we get into the town. Okay, yeah, so it starts off here with the train. So if it does a loop, I'm not really sure why it's pulling the passenger cars rather than like pulling them backwards. I have no idea why. Seems odd. But anyways, look at this. Like I said, for a guy like me, there it is. Hotel du Paris. Ha ha ha, oui oui. There's the school. Apparently now it's a museum. Also, the mudflood windows have been covered up at this point. Isn't that interesting? But you can see how when I looked at this, I'm like, wow, this is Disneyland for a guy like me that loves doing boots on the ground, looking at old world buildings. I mean, look at that. Even this stone wall or fencing here. And it's not just the houses downtown. It's like, or the buildings downtown. It's these houses too. Look at this White House here. Like, come on, man. This big, massive yard. What's that in your backyard, Bill? Oh, it's nothing. It's just a log cabin. Just got an old log cabin in my backyard. It's fine. It's just gonna play it again here. See again, so I don't know why it's going in reverse and pulling the cars as opposed to going the other way around. Seems odd to me, but anyway, I mean, it's not the first time I've seen that. Yeah, I guess that could be, right, Vaughn? Maybe there's no turntable at the other end, right? In the, they don't have a roundhouse anywhere. But you think if it's a loop, if it's going the right direction, well, maybe if it's a single line track, it's got to eventually. I don't know. Maybe it's only a loop at one end. But this too is just, look at this. I mean, unbelievable. Now we see this, of course, across the realm. Again, this could be anywhere in the U.S. It could be anywhere here in the prairies in Canada, or some places here in the Canadian Rockies, in British Columbia. This could be in Saskatchewan or Manitoba. This could be in rural Ontario somewhere. But it's just outstanding. Not a lot of people around, though. Like, it doesn't look like a hustling, bustling downtown shopping district. There's a couple of folks there on the right-hand side of the screen, I think, about midway up. But who knows? This could be super early in the morning. Well, there's a couple of folks, I guess. Look at that. I guess that's a bell tower or some kind of tower on the building across from the hotel there. Might be the old fire hall, so maybe it's the old fire hall tower. I don't know. Well, I mean, that was one thing that I thought too, was, the often the smoke and the steam and everything blows back over. But I mean, if the wind's blowing in a certain direction, doesn't matter which way you face the locomotive, right? But maybe it's the coal car, right? They don't want the coal dust and everything blowing out of the coal car into the passenger car. That would make sense. So keep in mind, this is, a silver mining town for all intents and purposes. And we've heard about in the official narrative, the official history, right, that gold and silver mining towns popped up and shut down all over the realm before this and after this. So you think they'd learn, like, why? You mean to tell me that a 2-story schoolhouse made of brick and stone, Not, a two-story wooden schoolhouse, which would have been perfectly appropriate and what I would consider sort of, relevant for a boom and bust thing like a mining town. Anyway, so that is that. So I figure let's drop the goggle guy down and have a look. Actually, no, I think I get some pictures here first. Let's maybe look at that first. What do you think? Yeah, let's do that. Look at some photographs first of Georgetown, Colorado. Some old-timey photographs, of course, because those are always lovely to look at least in my personal opinion. Let me just get that going here for you. Here we go. So boom, right out of the gates, the old school. Come on, man. I don't know who these lazabouts are. Shouldn't you be in class? I mean, the school's right there. Just hanging out, leaning on this crappy picket fence. Maybe it's not so crappy. I mean, you need to have like 2 cupolas with tech on them and a bell tower, I guess, in your mining town schoolhouse that's out in the Rockies. You know, a wild Klondike right on the edge of the frontier. Wild West, shoot 'em up, 59er mining town. Like this, okay, I get this. So's dry goods, and it's a wood frame 2-story. Sure, I get it, but I mean this, and even this, if it was stone, you might say, well, okay, the stone from mining, the waste stone, the aggregates, the stuff, the waste. They could use that to maybe build some of these buildings. Okay, but then they're all facaded in brick, and they've got all this fancy eaves work here and all this tech and embellishments on them. And then they got, to go through the trouble of building this across this freaking gorge. Yeah, 1893. Georgetown Loop, Georgetown, Colorado. Look at this thing. I mean, it's, of course, a funny angle, so it looks like it's going to tip over, but obviously, of course, it's not. But wow. I guess because it curves as it's going over, so it looks like it's bent and rickety. This is a newer bridge, 1926, so much beefier, sturdier looking bridge, but it's part of the whole loop. Like it comes around and goes up and around and over, so that's why it looks like that. It's curved. So there's the town itself. This is a shot in the winter, I'm guessing. No, maybe not. I don't know what all this crap is here then. But see, they were lucky. They didn't have a fire to burn down their stone and brick buildings like the Hotel de Paris. And a French flag and an American flag. Jeez. This eccentric local businessman just went all out. Built it right next to this little log cabin here too. Now there's your mining town structure. There you go. And then this jerk comes along and apparently builds this right next to this. When there was only a couple hundred people. Here's your courthouse. Okay, again, this I can see. This brick and stone and embellishment, I wonder about this. Okay. Or is this brick underneath and they've wood clad over it? Is this all one building maybe? No, this has that false front with the pitched roof here. Okay. So this makes sense. This, you know. Because there's what you've got to work with. Right? You've got Ted and Fred. So you got time to do all this. Like, who is doing this, by the way? These guys? No, they're the guys they're the greengrocers or the mercantiles. I highly doubt these guys are mercantiles or dry goods merchants, but also bricklayers. And by the way, look at the reflection in the window here of the building on the other side of the street with the brick and the arched windows. But do you think that these dry goods peddlers or this dumbass kid on this wagon or all the filthy miners that are digging holes in the ground all day are building this? Look who's building this. Giuseppe from Palermo, Italy. He come across all the way to Colorado and he built this and then he go back to Italy. I know it's no make it a sense. Sure, you want to build a building because you got to have a dry goods store, of course. I mean, I'm not saying the miners shouldn't have stores and a post office and a courthouse and a saloon and a school and a hospital. Sure, of course. But big 2 and 3 story brick and stone structures with all of this fancy work. Boy, I sure worked my ass off in the coal mine for 16 hours. I'm just going to pass through town here on my way home, and I sure am glad that I can look up and admire all this beautiful architectural work along the top of this grocery store and tea company and all this stacked brick up here as I'm dead dog tired from working in a dark hole all day. This makes sense. But some of this stuff down here just does not. This looks very precarious, by the way. I don't think I'd want to be building my house. Like, I'm not this guy. No, old Frankie's probably gonna. This is my house right here. That's Carnegie Library. Oh, okay. This place here then. I ain't living at the foot of this with this guy and his pack mule here, by the way, in the foreground. I just noticed that. So this guy built this. No. There's your loop in the background, too. So here, okay, here you go. Well, what's this doing here, by the way? Got some extra leftover brick. Then I'm just going to pile it up here on our wonky mudflood street, wonky sidewalk street here. You got this that I can totally understand. But then you got this, which I'm having a hard time accepting. You know, silver and gold mining town that's just popped up. Yeah, make sure you put some griffins up on my milk shop or put some lions up on my dry goods store or something, you know. This too. See, there's your lion. There, I was kind of joking, but there it is. There's a lion. Of course, it's the Hotel de Paris. But, I mean, this is the one we were looking at the previous picture, but then there's this. Okay, let's paint some stupid-ass signs on the side, but you got some columns or pillars here and this big grand entrance. It's got these arched windows, and then they've embellished all these arches, all the stacked brick. Because you want to make it look extra old world glorious for all the miners that are in these holes up on the sides of these mountains all day. It's kind of a blown out picture. It's bloated out a bit, but I mean, even the houses. I mean, what in the hell's going on here? There's a house, but then I think that's the school in the background. Massive. So again, this, sure, I can buy that all day long. But this, come on, man. So here you go, to get up some of these grades and to get over some of these ravines and rivers and so on, they just make this huge train loop. Pretty cool. Cousin Vinny in the box. There he is. Yeah, I ain't minding no town without columns. Just saw you sneak in there, Cousin Vinny. Good to see you. So there's a little bit of some photographs there of old-timey Georgetown, Colorado. So what do you say we open up the goggle machine here and look at the goggle maps and maybe take a drop down in this place here. What do you say? Just get her opened up here. Oh, come on, man. Don't even worry about it. It's good to see you. Good to see you. I was telling everybody that we had quite the time at the meetup, but we walked a lot. Like we were, even I was tuckered. You know, by the time I got home, I was tuckered. And then working the next day, whew, actually, working the next couple of days, right? I was tuckered. I was dragging my feet, which is probably how I broke my toes. Yes, that's right. I broke 2 toes. Was that Thursday? Thursday night? Thursday? I think it was Thursday. The 3rd and 4th piggy. Busted both of those, especially the 3rd one real bad. Like it's black now. It's black like this camera. It started off with a few of these colors, and then it went to this. It's been that for a couple of days now. The other one's kind of the bruisey colors, the browns and yellow. But whew, it's the dumbest injury, right? Because, well, how'd you do that? Well, how does everybody break their damn toe? They either drop something heavy on it, which is not the case, or you stub your toe, right? You kick your toe on something, which is what I did on my bed. What should be the most comfortable, safest, secure place in your entire house? Your bed. That's what I kicked my toe on and broke 2 of my toes. Not so bad today. I mean, I've had them taped up and elevated for a couple of days. But it's a dumb injury, right? Because you think, it's a couple of toes. Who cares? Big deal. Right? But you try walking on 2 broken toes. It's not exactly tiptoeing through the tulips. But after a couple of days, they're not so bad now. I just taped like 3 of my toes together. I taped the 2 busted ones to the 1 good one. I taped the 4th and 3rd piggy to the 2nd piggy, the one next to the big toe. The sergeant at arms. The big toe's the captain of the toes or whatever. I don't know. There's a whole stand-up bit that somebody did. Oh, I kicked my bed. I didn't kick a person. I tend not to go around kicking people. Oh yeah, see that sounds painful. especially because if it's anywhere on the engine or the exhaust system, because then the weight of it breaks your toe, but then the heat of it also burns your foot and or toe. That's always fun. Yeah, it's yeah. No, it's that wouldn't happen at work anyways because I wear steel toes at work. So yeah, no, it wasn't at work. It was just stupid. It was just you know, coming into my room to get something, and it's that it's fairly light out even into the evening and at night. For the sun finally setting at about 10-ish p.m. or close to 10 at this point. Anyway, so you don't need to turn the light on. I'm just going into my room to grab something. Bam! Kick the toe on the corner of the bed. The bed frame. So yeah, the thing that's supposed to be the most secure, safe thing in your entire home that you nestle yourself in every night to go off to dreamland. It's broke 2 of my digits. Thanks a lot, bed. Thanks. Anyway, thanks for asking. Yeah, it's fine now. I can walk on it now at least. It's just stupid, just dumb. Anyway, let's look on the goggle machine here, where we're at here. Let's just back it way out. So there's Colorado down there. So just west of Denver. Get your Lakewood. Golden. Hey, Golden. There's a place in British Columbia called Golden. So there's the Idaho Springs. They mentioned that a couple of times in some of those articles, as well as Black Hawk. And then down here is your Pikes Peak. And so then here you go. So this is Silver Plume here, and this is old Georgetown. And then the railroad runs in between the two. So let's drop the guy down here and just have a look at there's take your pick, basically. You know what I'm saying? And here's just your bed and breakfast. Oh, it must be Halloween. It's giant. They found a giant skeleton here in Georgetown, Colorado, apparently, and Smithsonian hasn't got their hands on it yet. Quick, everybody, screenshot that before it's gone. Slippers wouldn't have helped. But I see what you're saying. I do wear slippers in the winter because I've got the hardwood floors here in the place. So sometimes it can be a little chilly in the winter because you're not going to blast the heat and pay through the wazoo with the heating bill, right? No, I mean, I kick this thing. Like enough to break toes, So you go, again, what you might expect. Beautiful. Like a lot of the chimneys are stone, though, instead of brick. Then you get something like this, and you're like, wait, what? 1876. Okay. What? This might be that fancy guy's house, that fancy fella. The silver tycoon guy. Because I'm going to say, what miner? Like even the town mayor wouldn't need this. You know what I'm saying? Well, yeah, that's the thing. I was supposed to work yesterday, and I did not. And that's the thing that, if it doesn't happen at work and you miss work, well, you ain't getting paid for that there, buddy. It's time missed. Look at this place. So they've covered it in schmutz, but, arched windows, door in the corner. They've piled some stones up here to make it look like a stone foundation, but you can see where the schmutz is breaking away here, that it looks to me like there actually was a stone foundation here. Maybe it's starting to get effed up, so they've just piled some rocks here to make it look let's try to make it look nice. But then, like, who built this wall? Like, who's building all that? Miners? Are the miners, after being in the mines, in the silver and gold mines, all the livelong day, like the 7 freaking dwarfs? Are they then coming into town and building stuff like this? Not only building it, but let's put a little peak here and let's stack all this brick and do all this to make it more of a pain in the ass. Let's put this brick on an angle and like a fish bone or herringbone type. I don't even know what that's called, man. All I know is it's beautiful and it's extra work. Up here, like you're out in the mountains, man. It's Colorado Rockies here now. This ain't in flat cornland, Kansas. No offense. The Fish Block. Terrible name for a building. And we're going to paint it purple for some reason. But look at him over here. And here. So the miners built it crooked like this. You know, I guess that's why they were miners first and builders second. That's why this is built on a slant. I don't know. It's not built on a slant, though. The thing is it's a mud flooder, and the street has been paved and sidewalks put in over the years. This entrance is probably a foot shorter than it used to be. You know what I'm saying? At least. Look at this, man. This is for miners. I ain't even going into town unless there's Phoenician shells and cupolas and stacked brickwork on the buildings. I'll take my silver and gold and cash it in elsewhere on my pack mule, and I'll take it to a different town because this town ain't fancy enough for me. Like this I can get. Okay, there's your post office, a 2-story wooden building. That's all you need, man. That's all you need. I don't mean to offend people that are miners. Mining ain't easy is the point I'm trying to make. They're up here in the mines all day. They are not going to give a rat's ass. I mean, this is what they're looking at. Sure, that's fine. This ain't some highfalutin town. Well, I guess, I mean, it. By the story, they say it was highfalutin because of all the silver. I already went up the street. Sorry. I'm getting so turned around from all the fancy shit. See, you can't swing a dead cat. Now, where's the brick factory in this mining town? Nope, there's no. I couldn't find a brick factory. I've walked with the little Google guy on the goggle machine up and down every street in this here town with arched columns on their mining town village. And I didn't see any brick factory or brickworks. The stone, I get it. You know, stone chimneys, stone foundations. That would fit the narrative of a mining town. It would be whatever you discard, the waste. You know. Yeah, you can go to the slag heap and get yourself a foundation for free. But this wasn't built from no slag heap. You notice that they've refaced it and covered up those mudflood windows that were in front there. See? Maybe they were, Vinny. Maybe they were. And again, I want to reiterate, I'm not saying that miners don't deserve to look at beautiful stuff like this. And that if they did see it, that they wouldn't appreciate it. But what I'm saying is just, like, who built this? Who built this castle-esque, looks like it belongs in somewhere in the British Isles, and they tell you it was built in 1468. And it was the 3rd Protestant church built in the entire United Kingdom. Or something like that, right? It's on the Isle of Wight, on blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? But no, it's in the Colorado Rockies, man. But we got to put this on, I would just think that the entire town would be built around the silver and gold mining industries. So therefore, would they divert some of that time and effort and resources and manpower and money into building luxurious structures like this? I mean, not that a school isn't important. Yeah, you got to build your school and your church, but build them like that post office, man. You know what I'm saying? I would think that everybody in this town, except for some of the merchants and the preacher and the school marm or what have you, would basically be miners. So yeah, there's the fire hall. Now this makes sense because this to me looks like also is made out of wood, I think. But it might have could have a stone foundation like this place. See this? And even these, like that, I understand. Sure, no problem. But all this brick, like that they just load up pallets of bricks from Denver and ship them out here on rail? You think that would be cost prohibitive? You think they would just build everything that you see that's made out of brick, you think they would just make it out of stone instead? It's all right there. It's free, basically. What the hell is this? Oh man. Like it just keeps going like this I understand. Okay, it's got the pitched roof or a peaked roof like this does. And they just put this across it's like they're fronting, right? They're putting on airs that we're trying to be bigger than we are. Someday this will be a 3 or maybe even a 4-story building. Someday. Anyway, you get the idea. It's just ridiculous. Everywhere you look in this town, you can't swing a dead cat without, I'm not saying that this wall's ancient, that it's been here for thousands of years or anything like that. But what I'm saying is who built it when everybody was working in the silver and later gold mines? I mean, they struck pay dirt twice here. Remember, silver then gold, or gold then silver, whichever, but both. Plus, they had the tourism. The little choo-choo and the loop coming through this picturesque, and there's no arguing that this is picturesque. More giant skeletons, quick. Smithsonian's coming to dump them in the Hudson River. Or was it the East River? Just outstanding. Just absolutely beautiful. And again, I ain't mad at them for building it like that. I'm glad they did. But how and who? Did they railroad in a bunch of construction workers from Denver? If so, just put it in the Wikipedia, man. Even that, I don't necessarily say I would buy. I've not necessarily swallowed that pill. But at least put it somewhere. Put it in your official town website and stuff. No. Oh yeah, this is another weird thing, by the way. This is just up here on this cliffside. And it's just a monument to the founder, the Griffin brothers that founded Georgetown. So I thought, okay, like you can't even drop a man. I mean, you could drop a man here and that's it. There's nothing up there, supposedly. Nothing that they want you to see anyway, just this with a griffin on it. Clifford Griffin. Born in Shropshire? Is that even a place? Does that say Shrop? Shire. Shrop? Is that correct? Shropshire, England? You only live to be 40 years. Can't make out the rest of what that says. Something, something, a miner, something, something found this place, something, something. Anyhow, that's interesting enough. But then we get the Silver Plume here. And this place, 200 people currently. So not quite as fancy schmancy as Georgetown. But don't forget now, they unfortunately had a fire and an avalanche. They weren't permitted to compete, I guess. So this is their main street. So if they had a fire, I'm not really sure how this old-timey wooden structure survived, but maybe they burned down other buildings next to it to create a fire break. Because that's the best way to stop a fire is to, the best way to stop your buildings from burning down is to burn down buildings. It's not suspicious at all here. But I mean, the schmutz busted off of this. Something terrible's happened here, but it's stone underneath. And then look what they've done here. So this is, I guess, facade brick. So are these older buildings that they've found, and then they've just come along, and rather than building the entire building out of brick back in 1859 or whenever, those two fellers just magically stumbled around here and fell into this place and found silver and or gold. But is it just a Victorian tart up, as Dave Ebony would say? Because this lends itself a lot... What the hell? This lends itself a lot more to... Okay, it's a mining town, and whatever's discarded as we're digging the mines, we can use that to build our important buildings. But then when you look on the front, like... why the form exceeds the function in a town that would be all about function. Even this shitty garage or whatever this is, like, it's just stone, and then big huge stones on the corner here. I don't know what the hell happened here. Back here too. Gets a little pickleated, my apologies, but got like these buildings up on a hill, and then they've got these stone retaining walls and shacks built on the back and the sides of these things to get up and down. Because I think all these are all mud flooded from these. Maybe what they're calling an avalanche was a mudslide or a mud flood, essentially. See, even this house, a very modest business with maybe the house built onto the side of it, like this is the shop owner's residence here, maybe, or something. But then when you look down in this here hole, big, huge freaking rocks all the way down here. The birds outside are pissed off. Like, this looks more modern. Okay, you want to have a level front yard. It's easy to maintain your lawn. Sure. But I mean, some of this other shenanigans is a little bit, questionable. Like, even here, this looks like stone, and that, call me nuts, but that could be an opening there in this little shotgun shack. So are there wooden and are there wooden buildings built on top of pre-existing stone structural remains. Much in the way that the larger buildings on their quote-unquote main street are stone buildings with brick built on top of the stone remains. There's that old New Windsor Hotel. It's still freaking there. Please slow down to 10 miles per hour now. There's kids playing out here in front of this here hotel. Slow down now. Like, what a beauty. With all these dormers. Now this is, they've got this poured concrete veranda, so it's hard to see what's going on. Why do you have a radiator on the outside of the building? Don't know. It got too hot inside, so we put one outside. Kids and dogs are playing here. Look at this. Will you look at this? This is somebody's house. Beautiful. Odd. Very unique and unusual. Like, what do you need this giant thing on this tiny... Like, what the hell? Did he start off with this house and then, what? I struck it rich. He hit the mother lode vein of silver or gold. We're going to build an addition on the side of our house, Martha. It's crazy. But this, I mean, you know, these little houses and stuff I can understand. That makes sense to me. This is your little mining town. Sure. You know, this kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. But some of them larger stone buildings, man, I'm just like, wait a second. The stone sort of makes sense, but like, what the hell happened here? What in the hell? It was half destroyed, so we won't bother rebuilding it. We'll just wall this bottom portion and then fill this in with crappy wood and shitty windows. Put a big vents and ductwork. What in the Sam hell? But then down here you got this. Over here you got something going on. What? What happened? Look at this. Back here. Tea room. Sure, yeah, that's the tea room. The front's just a dirt road. Can we get back here? I think we can. Like, what? Yeah, antiques. No shit. It's always an antique shop in a place like this. And it still goes down. It looks to me like they poured a concrete pad here, and this still, the entrance is down a couple of steps to me, maybe. Could just be the weird angle in the shadows from the time of day, maybe. I don't know. Oh, no, get your... What is that? Your frontier out of the way. Frontier, I ain't never even... Let's try a different date here. I'm fascinated by this. Well, let's park our tractor here now. Like, what in the Sam hell is going on back here? Around those giant stones when everybody's up in the mines. I mean, to tell me the shopkeep and his brother who opened them, that mercantile or whatever, they built it and they hauled around the big giant stones, just the two of them and their cart and maybe a couple of mules or a couple of horses. I'm not saying that it can't be done. It could be done. I've seen my dad and my uncles do some incredible stuff on my granddaddy's old farm. But even then, they had like an old truck to haul stuff with and hook chains up to and pull stuff with and whatever. They weren't using horses and mules anymore like they were on the old farm back in the day. But that's just, I don't know, man. Just boggles the mind. Just boggles the mind. I just have a lot of questions. And that's really all it is the questions. You know what? Let's have a quick peekaboo at the train station maybe before we sign off on this thing here for tonight. Still going. Beautiful old train. There's a couple of other spots that we can jump in on down in here. Yep. There we go. Hey, buddy. Look, you're in this beautiful place and you can't get off your damn phone. Look at all the stuff to look at in here. And you're on your phone. I see some outside stuff. Come on, Goggle. Give me something good. If I see that hobo in that hoodie again, I'm going to be upset. Big giant boulders everywhere. Can I just look at the train stuff, please? There we go. This is all modern crap. There's this fool. Get on out of here now, Slick. There's the old train station building and the old platform. So it's an old. I was trying to see what the platform was. It looks like it was an old wooden platform. I thought maybe it'd been like a stone platform or something. Tartarian Prague rocker in the box. Howdy, howdy, welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for shooting in there, eh? Just looking at Georgetown, Colorado. Right now we're in Silver Plume looking at the old loop, the railroad loop that went between Georgetown and Silver Plume, Colorado. They shut it down in 1938 and then they started up again in like 20 years later as a tourist attraction. It was originally started basically for tourists and to haul freight and commuters and so on around. And guys like that showed up and spoiled the party. Nice fanny pack chucklehead. By the way, if that's you in that photo and you're in the chat, sorry. Sorry. It seems like that guy's in every shot. It's not going to give me this one now. You're not going to give me this shot, Goggle? Oh, there we go. See, it doesn't like us poking around. I just see an awful lot of big stones everywhere, which, again, mining town, okay. This wall's not very old, probably. But I bet you there's other walls that are really old that look like, you know, the sides of some of the older buildings. This is a modern build made to look old-timey. So I guess they would have gone off of old maps and pamphlets when they reconstructed this thing. But then it's also in that one article, if you'll remember, that it's, you know, it's an interpretive center, right? So they interpret for you how everything was back then with the rail. Bill Powell says it was really rolling 20 years ago as a sort of as a reopened tourist destination. So I don't know. There you go. What are your thoughts? I just found that to be very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Um, you know, the two towns are so close to each other, and Georgetown never had a fire, so they were able to save all these beautiful buildings. Meanwhile, like 5 miles away, Silver Plume got a fire and an avalanche, and got these massive stone structures that are these massive buildings that have been facaded, but when you look at them, they're stone structures. Well, fire melt brick, but I've never seen it like destroy stone. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's extreme temperatures can melt brick. Like a house fire or your building on fire isn't going to be hot enough, supposedly, to melt brick. But with that said, the brick is just the facading on the frontage of the buildings. So that would lead me to suspect that maybe Georgetown is the same way, that those buildings are stone too. Otherwise, why would one town... I mean, they were both booming silver and gold mining towns, and they were both exploding at the same amount of time. They had roughly the same populations. They both reached about 2,000-ish, give or take. Then all of a sudden, Silver Plume, boom, fire, then avalanche. And it just never recovered. But it's on the same loop railroad line as Georgetown that didn't seem to suffer. Ooh, they dodged a great fire. The Great Fire of Georgetown, Colorado. Nope, doesn't exist. But you mean to tell me that fires and avalanches destroy massive stone buildings like that? I don't know, man. And why almost just like the building just exactly in half, like the rear portion of the building is just crumbled away. So because it's at the back, we won't bother fixing it. But on the main street, we'll dull it up real nice. So what happened there, and who built them originally? Just kind of a very, again, it speaks back to what I talk about a lot, right? The rubber stamping of the narrative, It's almost like they're not creative enough to come up with more than 2 or 3 dozen stories, and they just apply those to everything. Here's your mining town narrative, and they can even break it down a bit: silver mining, gold mining, coal mining. They get slightly different narratives. But you can bet a lot of the narratives for coal mining country in England and coal mining country in the United States and coal mining country here in Canada land, very, very similar. Very similar. They just rubber stamp it. Anyway, I found it fascinating. I found that Georgetown to be beautiful, and actually I found Silver Plume to be quite beautiful as well. Raises more questions than it does answer, as always. But that's why I guess we keep digging. And speaking of digging, if you dig the show, give a guy one of these. I think I'm getting ready to wind it down here. Speaking of digging, also don't forget boots on the ground. Usually, every Sunday on the channel. Wednesday, vintage footage. You got your sneak peek here for your midweek vintage footage. Friday, the live show. And that's what's coming up this coming Friday, the 5th, the live show. We're going to be talking about the rodeo and the Calgary Stampede and how all that came there all about. So in the meantime, I want to thank all of you very much once again for winding down your weekend here with yours truly and taking time out of your day to join me here. Really, really appreciate it. And again, as a reminder, links below for not only everything that we covered here, but how you can get a hold of a guy as well. Projects coming up: Heritage Park, theme park visit or revisit with Cousin Vinny at some point this summer. Edmonton trip coming up. Going to revisit some old friends here in the city that we haven't looked at in a while. See how they're holding up and how they're still holding up. Now that we got some new equipment with a zoom on it, we can even have a closer peekaboo and really put our ocular sphericals on some stuff here in the city. Other road trips in the works, as mentioned, Edmonton, but also some southern Alberta towns. Cousin Vinny and I are going to try to take a road trip at some point here in the summer and do the, hop in the vehicle and head to some small Alberta prairie towns and see if we can find anything that's, shenanigans. Because, you got your Frankie Fingers, and once in a while you get Frankie Fingers and your Cousin Vinny.
So now you know what I'm talking about with the whole New West Reset thing.
No.
What?
No.
What I said about Frankie Fingers.
Oh.
That Frankie
Oh,
Fingers
yeah.
and New West Reset are the same.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, she don't stand no cheating. She don't stand none of that.
So I know I have a few viewers, a few friends of the channel that live up in the Edmonton area there in Alberta's capital city, beautiful Edmonton up there. If you want to meet up while I'm there, please throw me a line. Again, links in the description below, there in the rectangular shaped box thingy. And we can meet up and, do some boots in the ground up there and poke around and see what the heck's going on up there in Edmonton. Vinny's saying he'd love to visit Fort McLeod. Yeah, I know you've been on that link that you sent me, by the way, was great. I know Fort McLeod is, that's kind of like old Georgetown, Colorado. But instead of it being in the Rockies, it's in the Alberta Badlands. But just as secluded in the sense that it's close-ish, but not real close to any major city, right? Like Georgetown's close to Denver. Fort McLeod's kind of close-ish to Calgary. Ish. It's actually a little further. It's about 2-hour drive, maybe. Something like that, hour and a half. But anyway, that's part of the exploration. That's part of the poking around, and that's part of the whole thing here with the channel. As you know, I've seen other channels and saying, the stuff they're looking at, there's stuff in my city, in my neighborhood that looks just like that. So I started filming it, and I got to show some people that, yeah, this is in fact everywhere. It's in the US, it's in Europe, it's in Asia, it's down under, it's in the UK, it's up here in Canada land too, man. It's not just igloos and Eskimos and sled dogs and mountains and pristine lakes and forests up here. I mean, it's that. But it's deserts and badlands and glorious old world cities and small towns, just like in small town USA or small town everywhere in the realm, that just make you scratch your head. So with that, I think that is going to seal the deal here tonight for Frankie. New West Reset Live, episode 72 here tonight on this Sunday edition of the show. So thank you very much for joining me here. We looked at old Georgetown, Colorado. Thanks to everybody in the box. Appreciate all of you. Thanks for taking the time to join me. I ran a little long. I think Stuff Beagle is doing not a live, but he's premiering something interesting. So we may want to head on over there. So I got a little long-winded. Sorry about that. But thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. And we're back on the regular live stream schedule now. So until the next one, take care out there and have yourselves a good one. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Cheers.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.